Challenge your potential and the sky's the limit. Join me, Emily Ibbott, in a diary to empower. From a starting point of a love for dance, my life has evolved, but along the way, I've learned so much in how we develop, learn and grow from those around us to elevate us even further on. Be inspired and be open to learn, and no limit will ever exist. Come along with me on my own journey in personal development, but with guests who have empowered me and are still doing so in my own journey. Hey, and welcome back. It's been a slight hiatus on the podcast with some complications in the mix and busyness the past few months. So I'm really excited for some podcasts and today's chat of what's in store. And today we have Frankie back. Hi. Which is so nice. And if you are in tune with sort of the last episode that Frankie came on and spoke about, it was a big one. And just speaking about where you talk about mindset and your coaching and Thrive 365. Oh, it's a mouthful. And just how we talked a little bit about mindset. But I think when you came to the She Strides Wellness event that has just been, which was mega in comparison to sort of, I didn't go to the first one, but the second one at least. It was really nice to hear and where you delved into a little bit more with the mindset and how you approach goals and what's beyond that for your mindset, because it's quite a tough one. And I always say, and I speak a lot about mindset with my clients and resilience and, you know, positive self-talk and all of these things. It's so important for how you actually apply that to look at your goals.
Yeah, for sure.
More than anything else. So welcome back.
Thank you so much for having me again.
That's okay. And so to start with, you have something exciting coming up.
Yeah, exciting.
I'm putting you under to talk about. And I think it leads us so nicely into these topics because both you and I have very, very completely polar opposite challenges or what our goals are at the moment. But what are you up to? What have you got in store? Do share.
So on the 18th of August, for 15 days, I'm going to be running a 50k in each of the national parks in the UK. So there's 15 of them. So essentially it's 15 back-to-back ultra marathons. There are 10 parks in England, 2 in Scotland, 3 in Wales. So I'm having a road trip along the way. So yeah, I can't believe that it's actually nearly here now.
And that is like next level to what you have done. And I'm still thinking what is beyond this, which you're going to come up with next. But how did you kind of get to that? Where have your goals led to you previously that made you go, let's level this up tenfold?
So I think last time I spoke about, you know, the goal setting and especially that link to running and how much kind of self-confidence and belief that I got from running and throughout my journey of running for the last however many years. And I think it was towards the end of last year when I was just thinking about 2025 and what goals I wanted to achieve or what I wanted to set myself. One of those things being a running goal. And I've done a couple of multi-day ultras. I've done 5 days. And I was like, I just really want to do something that's going to challenge me more than ever.
So an ultra is the 50?
Yes, so an ultra is anything over a marathon.
Okay.
And I'm doing 50k, a marathon's 42. So,
okay.
Or if you're a miles girl like me, marathon is 26.2 and a 50k is about 31 miles.
Okay.
So just
Awesome.
a small amount.
Yeah, well, I didn't know the definition because obviously you hear there are so many different events. Obviously people do triathlons and bits and pieces and all sorts. So I was like, well, I don't even know what an ultra marathon is. But it's just a long run as if a marathon's not long enough.
Anything over a marathon, but generally, you know, events and things will be about 50k. That's like a standard shorter ultra marathon distance.
Okay. Amazing. Where do they go? How far do they go to?
Yeah. There's some crazy challenges out there, and I think because I surround myself and a lot of people that I know, especially through running, do these kind of crazy challenges. Sometimes I have to like check myself that what I'm doing isn't normal, and like not to the everyday person when I say it, like they look at me like, what? Like, are you crazy? And I'm like, yeah, okay, actually, no, that is quite a big challenge. But yeah, I just wanted to push myself further than I'd been before. I wanted to set myself something really big, and to kind of find where my limits are, because out of everything I've done, although it's been hard, I've not ever reached that kind of breaking point, or like, okay, this is it, like I'm
thing
done.
is, then even is that a limit? Because what's beyond that, which I love, which is also the scary part.
Yeah, and I spoke about as well last time about I love setting challenges that scare me, and now that it's under 4 weeks away, I am very scared, but I'm also really excited, and I like that I am scared and that I feel those butterflies, because that's a sign of, you know, you're doing something that you either really care about, or, you know, that is a big challenge for you that you kind of want to achieve. So,
and you've done loads of runs this year. Did you do the London?
Yes.
You did the London Marathon. You've done halves. There's 10K challenges that I've seen. You've done loads of little bits. So I guess all that is like training in the lead up. So how did you then decide, okay, this is where my training needs to be structured in the lead up to this? Because as the time frame comes closer, I guess the goalpost shifts slightly.
Yeah, so I kind of finalised that I wanted to do this challenge back at the beginning of the year, and I was training for London Marathon at the time, so I was using an app, and I have had a coach in the past, but usually I just do my own training either via an app or just like kind of my own.
I mean, there's so many like resources out there, which is great.
Yeah, and you know, after running for so many years, you kind of learn the way that you like to train, or, you know, what works for you around your life and job and everything. So yeah, but as it was coming up to London Marathon, I was like, right, after London, you know, I've got kind of 4 months and I need to really dial in with this. And this is not something I've done before. Yes, I've done the multi-day thing, the getting up and going again, but I've not done 15 days of it. So I have got a running coach.
Love this.
And yeah, he's been helping me.
Is this Lewis?
This is Lewis. Yes.
I follow Steph. So I followed them for a really long time.
So Lewis Robling founded Why We Run, which is a multi-day ultra that I did last year, and it's also a run community. So I met him through that, and then I messaged him when I decided to do this a few months in, and I was like, I need your help. And he's been great, and he's really helped me to kind of structure the training,
and that's what it's about. And it's also having that accountability of being like, okay, how did that run go?
Yeah,
rather than like sometimes you sit on your own thoughts and you're like, yeah, it was good, I did it. Whereas actually when someone's like, no, but actually how did it go? Where did we flag? What's going on? You're like, oh, okay, this is how I can actually improve and like make it mega for what's ahead.
And the accountability as well. Yeah. So I know he's watching, he's looking at the apps, and I've done the training sessions, and I had a bit of a bump in the road with like spraining my ankle just before London Marathon, actually, then re-rolling it again. But touch wood, everything is fine now. And training's been going well. Probably got another week of sort of biggish training sessions and then a bit of a taper. So
you're there.
So
you're so close.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know when this is coming out, but maybe will it come out before I've done it?
Yes, I think it will. It will. So, maybe we need to do another one after, just a review of how it went.
Oh, yeah.
Because it will be really interesting. And I think, you know, even after all my stuff, which is ahead, I think it would be really cool to reflect on actually this conversation that's happening now, where we're like happy-go-lucky, we're skipping, and how we feel afterwards.
Absolutely, yeah.
So just another episode on board. And I think it's, I mean, for those out there, I mean, I haven't really updated people much. I know you're aware, we've been following each other's journeys. Very, very different. I'm back into a prep. This is week 14, which is wild. And I've got 8 weeks to go for the first show, then another 2, and then another 4. It's very, very different. But there are so many similarities in terms of you structure your training. You have a coach to sort of really like almost hone in on all those details, you know, and the level of intensity you have to bring, whether that's obviously for you it's running, and for me it's obviously in my training, and where that mindset can carry you, because, you know, there's going to be probably for you early mornings, you're fitting it in runs where you can, you're managing around social life as well, and especially around those longer runs. It must be, are you finding now you're like, okay, I'm literally working and running, that's it?
Yeah, it's been really hard to fit it in. I think I'm definitely burning the candle at both ends.
Yeah.
And I probably have been for a while, but the training is just where it's ramped up. It's been quite difficult to fit in.
More the length of time.
Yeah.
That baffles me. Like, I think that's what most people as well struggle with, or what I've heard with the marathon training is where they're like training ramps up to just taking up so much time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's it. And then it's fitting it around, I'm still working full time and at my corporate job, trying to build the coaching business, doing things for that. Social life, rest, like it is quite full on, but
not much.
But I am, it's what I love to do. Yes. And come September, I will probably, I will be having a few months kind of more chill time. Yeah. So it's all kind of, peaks and troughs, and I've chosen to do this. So I've put the time in and I've done the best I can, and hopefully that will be enough to get
And that's
through.
Such a thing to say. And I say this to people thinking about going into preps or thinking about doing a big challenge, marathon, whatever it may be, is at the end of the day, you are no one's forcing you to do it. And you've chosen to level up your goals, to level up yourself. So that's something that you have to remember. Mm-hmm. Like, if you really hate it, doesn't mean there's not tough days. Tough days don't mean hating it at all. But if you're really not enjoying it, or it's really not serving you, or it's really not coinciding with life, or it's not the right time, that's okay. Mm-hmm. And I think people really forget that. And I say to a lot of my guys, and I've got my last team shoot of the year next week, it's tough when it gets towards the end. And I've had a couple of clients message me this week and say, this is really hard. Like, I don't want to do my session, or I don't want to do my cardio. And I'm like, this is good spot to be in, because it's expected, mm-hmm. And I think when someone's like, yeah, great. Yeah, you will be knackered. You will be exhausted. You are pushing yourself to limits that you didn't know existed. That's right. It's almost not I guess validating sort of where those feelings are coming from, but equally being like, this is where your mindset's going to take you.
Yeah, but that's what makes then the achievement of it even better. Yeah. And doing something that requires so much time and energy, and that discipline is you've got to want to do it. Yeah. It's got to be, your why's got to be strong enough, because otherwise it's kind of like, you're not going to push through those days, because you're just going to be like, well, I don't really want to do it, so I may as well sack it off.
Yeah, 100%. And then I know I've had a lot of conversations with people recently. I never thought I'd see the day where 4 a.m. was hitting my alarm clock to do cardio prior to my day. Now, no one's forcing me to wake up. Like, my coach is not forcing me to wake up at 4 a.m. to do my cardio. However, I know I'm best in the morning, get it done before my clients start. It's done, dusted, it's not touched my day. I could do it in the afternoon, but after clients, after training, am I going to be as, I don't like the word motivation, but am I going to be as driven to do it? Probably not. So if I make no excuse to do it right at the start of my day, I know it's done. And it's just kind of implementing those little things of where that resilience can build. And it's not to say, like, you haven't just woken up from never running ever and gone, this is a challenge I'm going to do. And all of those things that you have done, your marathons, all the challenges, your 10Ks, your 5Ks that have built up, it's just led you onto each pathway to where this challenge is, I guess.
Yeah.
And all the challenges that come in between. And how have you found that in terms of, like, leading this back to, I guess, starting with resilience? Your resilience has taken development, right?
Yeah, and that's been something that I've built over the years, especially with, as I spoke about in the workshop or the session that I did, about resilience being built by the self-trust. So the self-trust is, those small things that you do each day that get you closer to your goal, and you're proving to yourself every time that you keep a promise to yourself, and every time that you follow through the session, like with your 4 a.m. start, like, I'm sure once you've done that, you're like, okay, well, that's in the bank now, like, that's done.
Yeah. And
that's something that then your brain registers as in, like, okay, I followed through on that. And then you do it again and again, and your self-trust just builds and builds. And
it does feel great. Like, when you tick, I mean, obviously in well, I guess in the bodybuilding story, we always say tick boxes. You know, once you've ticked that box, it's like the self-satisfaction is just like, yes, like it's done.
Yeah.
Cool. Let's go with the day. And you actually feel one more energized. You've got a little dopamine hit. And like you say, you're following through with something that you've set out.
Yeah. And then that just only builds your resilience because you are proving to yourself that you can do it. You're doing those small actions, building that trust bit by bit. And then, you know, again, that's like something that helps with the discipline. That's when it comes down to the tough times, the days that you don't want to do it. You've got that resilience and the self-trust to know that you're capable of doing it and the belief that you can.
Yeah. And it takes time. And I think a lot of people want to wake up and be like, I'm super motivated, I'm super driven, I'm super disciplined, I'm super resilient with my goals. It doesn't happen like that. And it really does take those little chip-aways. And what's challenged your resilience most through this current challenge? What have been the days where you're like, oh, okay, we've got to dig from somewhere to get this done? Or, what's been the biggest point for you?
Probably what I was saying about just trying to do it all, because working full time, building a business, trying to train. Earlier in the year, I got a PMDD diagnosis. For anyone who doesn't know what that is, it's a severe reaction to like your hormone fluctuations. So there's 2 weeks of the cycle in your luteal phase where you've got more intense PMS symptoms, and that was quite challenging. That's been something that was trying to get diagnosed because I was having all these unexplained symptoms. Finally got to the bottom of it, got myself kind of into a bit of a better place with managing it, but that still has an effect on me. So, you know, when I'm tired,
just because you've been diagnosed, it doesn't mean the problem's gone. Because it just means, okay, I'm aware of this. How the heck am I going to manage it within training?
And that did give me a bit more control because it's like, okay, I had a label on it. Then I could look more into how it's going to affect me, how I can manage it, what things I can do and how I can control it as much as I can. So that's been quite challenging because, you know, it's pretty much half the month when you're not at your best self.
Yeah. And in theory, I guess half your flipping life. You know what I mean? Like when you look at it, okay, half the month, that's half the year. Like
exactly that.
Yeah.
So I think just trying to balance it all, making sure that I stay on top of my overwhelm and stress levels, because that's also something that contributes to PMDD flaring up, like, you know, being worse if you're not on top of looking after yourself. So it's been quite challenging. But I think I've been so excited about doing it that, you know, that's got me through.
And that sits over anything, doesn't it? On those days that are really tough, or that moment, or that bit before a run, or even during, because I'm sure, what are the lengths of your runs that you're doing at the moment?
Oh, so I had some ups and downs for sure. So the last weekend I did 3 hours of running on Friday, Saturday and Sunday. And there was definitely some moments in there that I was like, why am I doing this? Like, this is really hard at the minute. Like how, you know, and that's when all that negative self-talk comes in. And I was having self-doubt moments. And I was like, if I can't just get through this run and this is really hard, how am I going to run 15 days with like more elevation than this? And I just, it's kind of, but then you have moments where you feel good and it's just kind of riding like, that out.
I'm on top of the world.
But I suppose it's in like taking everything that I've learned and all of the but all of the hard training sessions that I've had ever, and knowing that I've got through all of those and I've got through hard challenges.
They matter the most. Like, you know, and not giving up or not stopping, that matters the most, because they're the days you're not going to remember your good days. You're going to get to the end and be like, I remember on those really tough days, that has got me to why I'm at this end position.
Yeah.
Because, you know, it's not the happy-go-lucky days that you're like, whoa, like, it's going to be the days that you're like, I am pushing through God knows what to get here.
Yeah. And, you know, by the end of it, there were ups and downs over that weekend. But by the end of it, I was like, okay, actually, you know, I'm back to that, like, maybe I can do this. Like, no, I can do this, you know. And also, I think, you know, when I'm doing the challenge, I'm going to be completely switched off from work. I'm not going to have anything else to think about apart from running, eating, sleeping. And so having like a big portion of my mental capacity, like free from all of that sort of stuff, it will make a big difference.
Yeah. Amazing. Oh, I'm so excited. I'm so excited. So what else? You've done 3 over last weekend. What you say you've got like another week until it tapers, or another 2 weeks. Where does it max to?
That's pretty much max now.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think my structure's been a couple of gym sessions a week focused on, specific running exercises, single leg things, all of that sort of stuff
all the balance, all the rehab work.
5 days running a week with back-to-back days over the weekend and a couple of recovery runs, some steady state intervals. And that's pretty much max now. This week, it's not as much running at the weekend. So nice. I have got a 3-hour run, but a 1 hour run as well.
Nice.
So I'm not doing the 3 hours again. So that's, so it's pretty much maxed now. But it was a really good, even though it's only going to be a short, like a fraction of what I'm actually doing in the challenge, it was a nice simulation to kind of get to the body
closest,
and
the mind,
that will
be the closest that you'll be able to gauge it.
Yeah.
Right?
And like I said, I've done 2 5-day events where I was running ultra marathons every day, and knowing, I guess that's something positive to learn from, those experiences and how I felt, needing to fuel and knowing that how best to do that. Something that's still going to be quite a challenge, making sure that I eat enough and everything. But I think I've got some learnings, and then, after 5 days it will be into the unknown and it will just be,
oh my gosh.
Let's see how this goes.
I'm so interested by this journey as well. And obviously not something necessarily we're going into today, but I think it will be really interesting to find out from you, like, how that fueling process is. Because how can you carb up for 15 days? Like, it's so interested, and it is really interesting. And I have so many conversations with clients about carbohydrates and fueling and muscular endurance, et cetera, and actually we need them. But it's going to be amazing, absolutely amazing. So leading it back, I guess, onto the next point, we spoke a little bit about positive self-trust and also positive self-talk. I think is such a massive thing. In many, many ways, I have a lot of conversations and with my team, and they speak to me. I love to be the positive bee in their life 24/7, or the most that I can be there 24/7 at least, because it's giving them insight to how they actually look at their own journey. And so many people say to me, you're so positive about what you do. You're so positive about your journey, positive about people's days. You're flipping the switch if there's something negative. Okay, what's the positive if we're learning? And people are like, how? And sometimes I'm like, I don't know how it necessarily developed to that point. And you can delve back into sort of life and how your outlook on things, and you can delve into a much more sort of psych side of it. But it is really important to reflect on and get better at as well. And did you find that in your own journey that your positive self-talk, it had to get better, or in just how did that develop?
Yeah, so I've always been pretty strong-minded. Like, when I set myself something, I want to achieve it. But on the flip side of that, and I think what not a lot of people realize, because sometimes I come across very confident, and there are aspects that I am confident, and I'll throw myself into things and I'll talk to anyone and all of that sort of stuff. But I do have a side that I've really had to work on, of self-doubt and that imposter syndrome, and I can't do this. I'm not going to be able to do it. And really that's got better. Running has improved that for me so much. Like, running has built my self-confidence, and that trust, just through everything that I've done and everything that it's taught me along the way. But also, just working on my own self-development and my mindset to help with that process as well. So if you imagine, people have thousands and thousands of thoughts a day, and quite often we pick up on the negative ones. Like, like you said with the, won't remember the good runs. It's like you always highlight the negative things that your brain says to yourself.
Kind of like when you're reading a TripAdvisor, you don't look for the good ones. You want to pick out a bad one to tell you not to go to this place. Why are we wired to really pick that out, when actually we just want a really nice time? So take every positive review that you can possibly put, but we don't, we skip them.
Exactly. And so it's a process of, and a skill, I suppose, of practicing changing that. So, whenever I would have negative thoughts, and it would be like, you can't do that, you're not good enough to do that, rather than, because that then leads to like that self-limiting belief of like, okay, well, I'm never going to be able to do that. And that's a limit that you set on yourself, which leads to avoidance or inaction. You don't take any action. You don't do anything. Yeah. And then that damages your self-trust. And you then kind of reinforces the belief that of what your brain is telling you. It's like, yeah, so you couldn't do that. So you don't even try. You don't bother because you just believe that it's not something you're going to ever be able to do. So,
and I think that can resonate with so many people in like, in everyone. I think there's some way, shape or form. And I think we are quite closed off as a human race. I think, we're pretty like, no, like we're stubborn. And also we want things quick. We can get things at
that's it.
At the tip of our fingers. If we want something food wise, we can order it. If we want even something, I don't know, from a normal shop, we can do it from Deliveroo and someone else will bring us, I don't know, a pack of plasters. Like, it's crazy now how like quick things are. So we're not used to that time frame that, we're not patient, and it takes a hit because then you're like, well, I'm never going to be able to do it.
Yeah, and obviously you want to break that cycle, shift the loop to a positive self-talk and belief. But it's so hard to do that because, like you say, it's like you have to take action to do that, and it's going to take a while. And sometimes even if you do start making steps towards it, you don't see the results instantly, and so you give up. So the idea and what I've really had to work on is when something negative comes into my mind, I challenge that belief and I turn it into something else. Yeah. So, for example, I can't do this. Like, I really want to do a challenge, but I'm never going to be able to do that. Okay, I might not be able to do it, or whatever it is, a skill that you want to learn. Like, I might not be able to do it yet, but I can learn. Yeah. Okay, challenging that belief. When have I done something before where I've had to learn a new skill, or I've had to find out who I can talk to, or what resources I can look at? And then you take a tiny step. Instead of avoidance or inaction, you take a tiny step to do that.
Yeah.
And then when you prove to yourself that you can do that and you follow through with something and it works and you get closer to where you want to be, then that builds the self-trust and then your resilience in return. So it's like it's a process. It's a whole thing. And I still have these, when like on the run-ins at the weekend, and I started to doubt myself, and I was like, no, like, hold on, let's just take that back. Like, I'm going to be fine, and just reframing it. And that does take time, and quite often you won't see results for a while because you'll be thinking, I still don't feel like I'm confident in achieving X, Y, and Z. But suddenly you make steps towards it and you're like, oh, actually, I've already come this far.
And we don't do that enough. So many. And my team, I say to them, okay, like your goal is ahead. We've got this vision. That is great. But look at where you've come so far to get towards that vision. And you're not giving yourself any credit for that just because you're not there. And I'm like, and I say it to a lot of people, I'm like, I hate to break it to you. You're never going to get where you want to be because the goalpost is always going to move. And that's not in a negative way. I mean that in the best way possible. And, or when we think this is going to happen, so then my life is going to magically change when that happens. Or, there's no doubt that maybe not straight after your 15 days, but afterwards you're going to reflect on it. And then, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a couple of months down the line, you're going to start envisioning that
I'm sure I will.
And it will. And it doesn't mean that
it's happened already several times.
And it's constantly moving. And that's the beauty of anything, any skill, any challenge, anything that we want to overcome. And obviously, we're both in tune with it in the fitness world. But, and I have some of my clients, they are so excited. Say, I don't know, we'll use the team shoot as the example. They're so excited when they start. They're like, yes, this is good. Gets to about like week 6-ish and things are settling, the plan is moving, but it's still so far away. So you're like, oh, I don't know. I don't know. Will this happen? Will I do it? And, that time's going to pass. And it's when that point of that mindset, and I don't know whether you have this in your training, where you can easily go, ooh, okay, we've made some good progress. We'll just chill here for a bit. Why not keep going at that same intensity? Because you'll keep on launching the places that you want to be. And my coach said to me on one of my shoots, he said, this is the best you that ever has been, but it's not the best you ever. And it's never left me.
Yeah.
And I say that all the time to my team because it's not. And even when I get on stage this time around, it's the best me to date, but it won't be the best me ever because I constantly want to improve. I constantly, the goalpost for me, there's always, I want to be bigger, or I want to grow, or there's this that I want to bring up in my physique, or there's this in my training that I want to challenge. That will constantly move, and your goals in reflection of that will come. And, so many of my clients are like, I can't see that in myself. Okay, well, we need to start practicing to see that positive and those changes and the progress that you have made, because otherwise further down the line it's going to be even harder. And it's so like that step by step, and time is always on your side. Where is the rush in anything?
And I think people, like they said to your clients say to you, like, you're so positive and you have this amazing outlook and all this motivation, and people look at me in disbelief when I'm doing certain things like this running challenge. But I didn't just wake up one day and have the motivation to do it or the skill to do it.
Yeah, 100%.
And it's something that you have to, so yes, you don't straight away go into like a big challenge or set yourself a really big goal. It's
all these little
building
steps.
the self-trust in the smaller ways. And whether that's in relation to fitness or exercise, showing up to those sessions, staying on top of your water intake, getting your steps in, whatever that is. But it's also to everything else in your life. Like, where are you prioritizing your time? Where can you create time for yourself to have a bit of self-care, or create time for family or friends, or whatever it is? As wellness is so holistic that there's aspects of every part of your life that you could look at and create space to be able to build self-trust. So
and that isn't easy. Like, and I'm sure, I don't know whether you've ever had it before, someone's like, oh, easy for you.
Yeah.
Oh, boils my blood slightly. But it's not. But, and both you and I probably have to work really blooming hard to find wherever that balance point is. And there are times for more balance than others, right? You'll pass 2 weekends, or, up to now, your priority is more than likely, I imagine, your mindset completely on where that's sitting. And it's the same for my show. I'm kind of just, at the moment, the balance is less, but it doesn't mean that balance is never there as well. And, there's times where, that flexibility with social life can be that little bit more out there, or, I can, prioritize this a little bit different, or my time can be managed here a little bit better because that time post that challenge is slightly different. But it takes time, and it's really hard to push to that. So when you look at people with huge challenges ahead or goals, I'm so here for the inspiration, and please use it and ask questions and, we'll pick our brains. But I think it's very different, and really think about the outlook when you say to someone, oh, it's easy for you, or you've got this or you've got that, because I highly doubt it is, and it's not when you set yourself up for these challenges. And, similar to yourself, this lays back, my discipline goes back to my dancing days, way beyond, when my mum put me in a ballet uniform at 3 years old. You go to class, you learn, okay, you get better. Yeah. And I will preach forever that a lot of my discipline has stemmed from there, and it stems from different places and it's in different people. But, that discipline, you can get better at. You're not just crap at being disciplined. Because I know a lot of people, so many people probably say to you, I'm just not very disciplined, so I won't be able to do that.
Yeah. I think it was my cousin who said to me the other day, so, we'd done a run with She Strides, and then we'd finished and I needed to add, 40 minutes on or whatever. And she's like, oh, you're so good. Because we went for brunch and then I did more afters. And I was like, yeah, but that's because this is something that I'm working towards. Going back to the beginning, I've chosen to do this. I get to do this. And okay, yes, every now and again, if I don't do an extra bit in my run, is it going to make a massive difference? But it's getting into that habit.
But the thing is, if you did that all the time.
Yeah. And so it's
and that's what I say to people.
Yeah. And it's those small things that you're doing that builds the self-trust, but also is kind of gives you that boost of okay, I'm capable, I can do it. And you're following through. And I think, that's so important, that going back to the why you want to do it, because if you are working towards something like for our challenges, you know, months in the making, like the discipline, like you with your food, with your cardio sessions, your training sessions, there's so much that goes into it that you aren't going to want to do that if it's something like, if someone isn't really interested in running a marathon and they're like, oh, well, I'll do it anyway, you know, they might stick to a plan in some sort of way, but they're unlikely to follow through with it fully or even beyond that if it's not something that they want to do. So I think, yes, it's great.
Probably as well, I find this so interesting, the people that hate on marathons post the marathon. So a lot of people who aren't in it for the right reasons in bodybuilding will then hate on the sport and tell them it's ruined them for forevermore. And there's a lot more talk about this in the industry. And I don't know whether that, I imagine it's the same for marathons. The people, oh, why would you do that? Oh, never again. Oh, that's way, like, it's probably the people that haven't stuck to their goals, haven't thought of a plan, have quite a negative outlook on a challenge like that because they didn't really want to do it.
Yeah.
And I say to people in bodybuilding, I say, if you're not bothered, don't bother.
Yeah.
Because it's just not worth it. It doesn't mean to say that a challenge similar for you isn't better, or, you know, changing that perspective of how you want to look at your goals, or that, you know, you're never not going to do that said challenge. But it's a really interesting outlook. And, you know, you don't have to do these mega things, because this is mega for us and what we're in line to do in our current lives and our current goals at the moment. But it doesn't mean that someone just running a 5K isn't the most mega thing in there. At that time.
It's relevant.
You know, it's so completely relevant and you can't necessarily compare in that way.
Yeah. And you have to want to do that. So
100%. Otherwise, you're not going to get up.
It's the importance
or do the lunch runs,
or
do the 3 hours back to back on a Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Like, you know, I say to people who, like, do you know what I mean? Like, who wants to necessarily do that? I know you do, but do you know what I mean?
No,
I say to people, I don't.
They're on the day, not always. No.
I said, you know, I don't necessarily want, or I don't have a dying need to get on the Stairmaster at 4:30 in the morning. But because of where I place my goals, place the hierarchy of my goals and the priority of my goals, actually, that is the most important thing for me at that moment in time.
Yeah, and I can imagine you're working towards the event and you're picturing yourself doing it, like how you're going to feel if you haven't followed through or you've missed certain things. And it's the same for me. You know, I want to get to the start of that challenge knowing that I've given it my best shot. You know, I'm not a professional athlete. I don't do this as a full-time job. So, of course, I'm only going to be able to do what I can do.
It's coming.
Manifest. Yeah. Well, actually, I don't even know if I'd want to do that as a profession. But, you know, it is a big part of my life. And I want to do that. And so I've got this vision of me doing it and knowing that when I get there that I've done everything that I can in my power to do it in as best I can in the circumstances.
And also you want it to feel good. Like you don't want to get there and think, oh, I missed that one. I missed that session. Probably why this is feeling pretty crap. Yes. You want to go, I smashed that hard session, and this is why this is tough, but I'm doing it and it's happening and I'm achieving it. And that's what I say to people in bodybuilding, you know, if it is a very, very, very different sport in how it's viewed and how it's judged. But, you know, if depending on the placings, if there is something that I could have kept in my control and I didn't, and it could be the reason for a different placing.
It's on you.
It's on me, and you have to take. And it's so bodybuilding is very subjective, so it's very different to necessarily how I look at it. But that's how we would look at it. You know that if you don't ever miss a session, don't ever miss your food plan, don't ever miss your steps or whatever. But you know that every placing or wherever you've done, you deserve no matter where that is because you've done everything in your control. And I think that's what, you know, again, we're looking at both the extreme side of it. But, you know, placing your goals, just commit to you more than anything else.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and that's it. And that's only going to be built by the small things along the way, and learning to trust yourself and learning to challenge the negative self-talk. And, you know, that's why I'm passionate about not only constantly improving for myself, but for my clients, you know, that rebuilding their their belief,
Yeah.
their
And their
self-trust and their belief
confidence,
that they can change,
Yeah.
and that they can work towards goals, and that they can build these consistent habits. You know, they just might need the right support and the right space to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's just been amazing. And I knew this was the perfect timing to sort of speak about these topics for something we're both super passionate about. So put in our own journeys with what they've got ahead. And thank you so much for coming on to speak about it all. And I cannot wait to hear all about it. And also what probably is going to be next whenever. But it's also something to dwell on is there is no rush for the next step or whatever. I know someone said to me, well, what's after this? And I was like, well, let me get to this first. Yeah. I was like, what do you
take
mean
a break as
what's
well?
After this? I was like, you know, it takes time and you don't know the outcome of this current thing or, you know, give yourself that credit for each step of the way. Reflect on it. Okay, how did you feel from it as well? And it's those steps which then lead you to the next path. Okay, do we need to reroute? Okay, do we need to go ahead? Do we need to keep going on this track? What else can help me? Those tiny steps is what's going to create your pathway. It doesn't mean it's a straight line by no means.
No. It's and it's something I think that I've learned more to do is, you know, the reflection side of things. And yes, it might seem like I'm jumping from one challenge to another and I'm always doing things. Yes, partly that is true sometimes, but I have got better at reflecting on it and actually sitting in that for a while, and also giving myself then the rest, you know, knowing and talking about how hard it's been to balance it all. Okay, well, this has been a priority for a few months, but, you know, come September when I'm chilling a bit more and the training's not taking up as much time,
the next
you know, my focus is probably going to go back and be more so on the business side of things and prioritizing other things in my life. So and I
think that's what also life is about, and there's different points where different things take priority and this takes priority, or that then overtakes that, and then it switches, and or family, social life, relationships, friendships, you know. And I'm kind of at the point where I'm saying to my friends, bear with me, I will be with you very soon. You know, and it's not to say that they're going anywhere or I'm going anywhere, but they, you know, are aware that that's where the current goals are sitting, but I'm not disappearing. And it's really helpful when you have that support system around as well.
Yeah, and it's like, you know, similar to like dating, like when I catch up with my friends and they're like, oh, you do? And I'm like, I'd love to date, but actually I haven't got time at the minute, you know, and so that might be a priority later in the year, but right now, like, you know, you have to choose what you want to focus on, and sometimes you can't do it all.
You can't, and you know, we are only human at the same time, so it doesn't mean that we don't have tough days, or we don't not have super great days, and we don't have those bumps in the road, or we don't have family stuff that happen. That will always be there. But how incredible that we can stay disciplined to those goals that we set and stick to.
Yeah, and as I posted on one of my stories the other day, like, you can do anything, but you can't do everything, and you don't need to do everything all at once.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Yeah. What a nice way to sum it all up. And obviously, if you have any questions for Frankie on her ultras, or questions about her fueling, like, you know, I'm sure you'll be more than happy to answer on Insta. You are running with Frankie.
Yeah, running with Frankie _.
Don't forget that bit. And obviously, you also are still building and connecting with everything with your Thrive 365.
Yes. So Instagram for that, Thrive 365 coaching, but it's also in my bio on my running page. And yeah, I'm just in the process of finalizing a 3-month program, all to do with building self-trust and resilience. So I'm hoping to roll that out. And yeah, I'd be happy for anyone to get in touch if they want to know more.
Or any questions. And if you have any questions for me and my craziness, but I'm sure most of you are in tune with it, I am always here. And if you want Frankie to come back and tune in to, I feel like it's going to be around the Christmas time, which is crazy to say considering it's July, you know, for those goals of how we sort of navigate the next pathway would be fantastic. And I'm sure we will be in touch soon. And yeah, thank you so much for listening.
Thank you.
A big thank you for joining me on my channel and tuning in. Find me on Spotify, Apple and Google Podcasts, Amazon and YouTube at Diary to Empower. Follow me on Instagram, m_power.fitness, and TikTok, m.ibert. See you on the next episode.